From the toes, everybody. Hi, I'm Vladimir. I don't deserve that yet. We haven't even gotten to the second slide. So, brief primer on Biotope aquariums. Like I was saying, next month we're going to be having a very interesting speaker who is going to be talking about African cichlids. I think Lake Tanganyika specifically?
That's a specialty.
That's his specialty? Oh, cichlids aren't my cup of tea, so I'm very excited for that personally. So I want to take a look at kind of the philosophy behind a biotope aquarium and what it kind of entails. So there we go. So what is a biotope? Biotope aquariums, the broad strokes of it all is everything in that tank comes from roughly the same area of the world. We are looking at a very specific slice of nature, is the way I like to describe it. So you're taking, generally speaking, plants that you only really find there, the type of rocks that you only really find there, like Malaysian spiderwood if you're trying to do a blackwater beta tank. Taking almond leaves, spiderwood, and then mixing the different pebbles and kind of stuff that you would find there would be what would be considered a biotope aquarium. It's all as nature would be. There are kind of degrees of it. I personally am what they call the working poor. So I don't have the money to go out and find the rocks that are from Malaysia. I like to rhyme with nature. I don't have to repeat verbatim what nature says. I just have to make it sound about the same. So that's why I tend to do substitutions, mostly with plants and wood and rocks. The livestock, I tend to try to keep explicitly to a certain range. My personal favorite being the Mekong River Basin. It's where I really kind of got my chops on doing biotopes, where I really kind of dove headfirst into an ecosystem and said, what does this even look like? And how do I bring this into my house? So the biosynosis is the term for the community of living organisms that are explicitly from a given region. So if somebody is saying, well, this is my, the biosynosis for South America, Amazon River, they're saying, everything in here is from South America, from the Amazon River. That's what I'm going for. And there are a lot of species that can actually be found across several different kinds of biotopes. So betas, for example, if we go to the next slide, betas are found in a lot of different kinds of environments. They tend to prefer sluggish water. So if I were going to set up a beta centric, a species-only tank can still be a biotope. So if I was going to do a blackwater beta tank, what I would do is take the more sluggish nature of, say, a ditch where you might find betas. They're also found in streams and in just like mud puddles. They're found everywhere. And they've even been introduced elsewhere on accident with farming, as we farm fish for the aquarium hobby. So things to really look for in their kind of environment would be the tannins, right? A lot of botanicals in there. We're looking at a lot of almond leaves, leaf litter, that kind of stuff. Personally, I got oak trees in my backyard. Oak trees are really good at making tannins. You just gotta boil them. And then you've got leaf litter and black water. You just have to rhyme as far as I'm concerned. I don't need almonds specifically for mine. Other things to look for. Yeah.
Why do you boil the oak leaves?
Same way I'm doing pasta.
Why?
Oh, why? Oh, to sterilize them. It also helps get the tannins out of there, so what you end up with is sterilized leaves that no longer have any microorganisms on them, and then the term is decanting. You pour off the water, and if you collect that water, that's actually full of tannins, and that can be used to treat certain illnesses in certain fish. Off the top of my head, I want to say like certain funguses don't really appreciate having the pH lowered and having to deal with tannins in the water. So it can be helpful as a homeopathic solution for different illnesses that you might run into. I personally really like the look of tannins, especially with like my Amazon tank that I'm working on. Neon tetras, you think they're pretty now in a store tank? Put them in a blackwater tank. Those guys shine. So, like I was saying about the plants and everything that you would find in there, especially in like a swampier kind of area, you're gonna have a lot of plants out of the water that just kind of dip in. So there's no reason to not decorate around the tank. You don't just have to decorate what's there, you can decorate the space around it with houseplants, etc. to really give it a little bit more life, bring it outside of just the tank. So personally speaking, that's kind of where my philosophy goes with beta tanks in particular. Oh. Should be able to hit the back arrow key. There we go. So tiger barbs, we're looking still at Southeast Asia. Another really common fish that you see. These guys are actually found in a lot of different environments, primarily in forests, streams, and tributaries. So they're actually coming from more clear water, a little bit faster moving. Their substrate tends to be a lot more sandy to pebbly kind of substrate, so they're gonna feel a little bit better with a mix of like the classic aquarium pebbles that you buy and then just like play sand, or I like to go to the stone yard and just pick up the Malibu white sand. It's like $10 for a 40-pound bag of it. Wash it really good and that'll last you a minute. They tend to have a little bit more vegetation in their environment, especially being further upstream. The water tends to be clear because it hasn't had a chance to pick up all sorts of sediment, tannins, etc. So you're looking at more of a clear water system for them. They actually, it's funny, in the research for what their environment actually looks like, I found out that we don't really know how wide their range is. To an extent, we're a victim of our own success, and so is the tiger barb. They breed so readily in the aquarium that we haven't had to go and find where all they are because they're just that easy to get. So we don't actually know exactly how wide of a range they encompass. So you can use your imagination a little bit, fill in the blanks in a system. Specifically like Eastern Borneo, there's a lot of different kinds of biotopes you can find there. You can go ahead and paste the tiger barb into almost any of them and it's gonna sound just about right. Doesn't have to be exact, it can rhyme. And then the next one, I decided to just kind of go way out of left field. If you got a tank big enough for a northern pike, I want to see it, and I just want to talk. I got money in my pocket, I just want to talk. So for doing a northern pike, I would start by raiding a Bass Pro Shop, because how else am I going to get a big enough tank? They're actually found across the continent, across North America, up into Europe, even into Russia, right? Pike and their extended family are a very prolific fish that even are tolerant of brackish conditions. So a northern pike biotope, for example, it could be an estuary. You could have scats and monos right alongside with your northern pike. You could have sculpins from like the eastern seaboard alongside northern pike, and it would look just fine. They are as a predator, they are very adaptable and are just as at home in deep, cold waters as they are in the shallows and the weed beds. So you can pretty much set up whatever kind of lake you want, lake, river, stream kind of setup, and it's going to look just fine. It's going to be more or less exactly what they're going to be dealing with in nature. It's the nice thing about dealing with such a widespread and adaptable species is you can do pretty much anything. Pick your river that you really like and go base it off of that. That's what I tend to do personally. Are there any questions before we get to the grand conclusion? All right. That's it, everybody. That's the grand conclusion. Now we're going to end with the auction. But I just want to give everybody kind of food for thought. Get your brain kind of turning the gears on what do my fish come from? What does their nature look like? How do I put that in my house? Just a fun little exercise in creativity, more or less drawing within the lines. So.
That's cool. Thank you.
All right, we ready for the auction?